And now what we're going to do, we're going to come in here, and you take a magic marker, will be fine, and we're going to trace this off onto there. And once we get it traced off, we're going to go in there and we're going to cut that section out, and that'll make us a block for where our whole gear box will go. So I'm going to get that marked off and cut out, and then show you where we go from there. Okay, you can see here that the box is already cut out. I mean, it's already lined off. And then what I'm going to do is take a scroll saw, and now I'm going to cut this and cut that whole section out. And I'll show you where we go from there. Okay, to cut this out, what I did was I put it back in the bottom, the blank there. And I went over to the scroll saw and I cut down both sides. Now, you don't want to use the blank here for cutting the crossways because you need this piece in there. And actually, I'll probably put a piece of tape across the bottom or something to keep this, to join this back up. Because when we get ready to sheet the wing, you'll need it. But anyway, so I've got this line here. What I did is I turned it over, and where the two lines ended, where I was cutting it, I drew another straight line. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and take an X-Acto knife and clean on this side, the front side, on both of these, and then I will sand it until this is flat across there. Oh, excuse me. I'll sand it. I'll cut on this side, on both of it, on the front side. Then I will sand until my sander meets this line on each side, so we'll have it perpendicular to the other side pieces we want. So I'm going to get this piece cut out, and I'll be back. Okay, I've got this cut out like I showed you before. Got the gear block area. Now what we're going to do is take some aircraft ply. This is 1/8 inch. We'll take it in here. This was a bigger piece, and I cut it. I already made one, so I've cut it down. You bring it in here and butt it up against the back here. Lay it in place. Let's make sure. I'd already traced it off. Anyway, what you got to do is lay it in place. Make sure it's flush against the back. And then take a pencil and trace it. And what we're doing is we're making, let me get back up here. You put it in there and you trace it. And what we're doing is making a template to line this whole box, is what it's going to be, with 1/8 inch aircraft ply. All right, we're going to get this in there, and then we'll go in and put some doublers in there to make sure that the gear plates go in correctly. So I'm going to go ahead and get these two cut out. I've done one for the inboard, and I've got one for the outboard. They're already traced off. I'm going to cut those out, and you want to make sure they're flush all the way around. You don't want anything sticking up because our sheeting is going to go across the top of this. Anyway, I'm going to flush this up, glue these in place. Then we'll come in here and put an 1/8 inch aircraft ply across the back, which will secure and make us a nice box around this way. So I'm going to get those in, and I'll come back. Okay, you can see here I've got the box in. I've actually got this last piece on this side gluing in place. Someone wanted to change our order of doing it. What you want to do is make sure you get the rear plate in there first, and then push these up against it. That just gives you a little bit more strength on the box, and then make sure that it's easier to put this piece in first and then slide the two ribs in there and trace them off. But anyway, as you're gluing it, make sure you got a good tight, you got your ribs up nice and tight. On this side, I was able to, you always need to make sure that when you're pinching this way, you got a piece of wood on the outside to pull. I glued that one in first. Then I get these clamps from, I think I got these at Home Depot, but you can swap the direction and it'll actually push. So it's pushing each direction to lock that gear in place, to lock that piece of wood in place. Next we're going to go to, I'm tracing out the doublers that go in here, and so I'm going to go ahead and let this finish setting up, and then I'll get my other parts cut out and we'll go from there. Okay, you can see here I have the box built in. It's built in all the way around. The wing's laying upside down now. I've gone ahead and cut out my doublers. These are 1/4 inch plywood. This is aircraft ply. Anyway, what we do now, and this all depends back here how well you cut it, how perpendicular you cut this out as to how these fit. What you want to do is you want to make sure the top contour of this fits with the top contour down there. You may have to, like on this one, I had to shave a little bit off the back to get it to lay in place and to fit that contour. Anyway, I did that to both of them. Alright, now what I've done is gone in here and I'm going to lay them in place. Well, actually, what I did was I put my spreader on there and held them in place and trial fit the gear block. Because what happens is the bottom end of this, just like on the wood wing, sticks above the sheeting and we'll have to shave that off. So anyway, let's just do it. Anyway, this lays in place just like it's supposed to, and eventually that will be glued in place. So what I'm doing now, after I make sure I got all these two places where they belong, I'm laying them back in the foam core. This is the top. And what I'm going to do is I put some saran wrap so I don't get glue up and under and then glue this inside of it. And I'm just going to line all this up and I'm going to glue these two in place. I'm going to glue them in here. What this does, it makes sure it stays with the contour and they're glued in place. So, like I said, on anything I do on an airplane, make sure you trial fit it before you do any gluing. But so I'm going to get these glued in and then I'll be back. Okay, you can see here I've got both the glued in place, and what I've done is gone ahead and laid the gear block in place. And what happens is once you glue this gear block down, there are doublers that go on top of it, and I'm using these 1/4 inch doublers just until I get it settled, and we'll make wider ones for this. Anyway, I've got two of those right here somewhere. Oh, here it is. Anyway, what I did then is before I stuck this in, I took this gear plate, put it in position, and then I just happened to have two more. And what I've done is I've stacked this up high enough to get that gear actually out of the wing. And I laid this in here, and I had already marked where I wanted my wheel, and trying to follow back along this line. I'll have that location marked on the plans. Anyway, I laid this on there and traced down each side of this leg. And then I took a wheel the appropriate size and I traced it out on here. So what I did then was I came back, removed everything down to just the one gear block, and I took a Dremel tool and I just dremeled the U-shaped here and then just continued it on out. And this gives us a line for the gear. Alright, see, it all fits in. This will be flush with the wing skin. The wheel will be able to fit down in the wing, but this gives us our location first. We want to make sure we got this in the correct angle and that we have enough room for it to do, because our doublers is what actually locks this gear plate at the correct angle. Anyway, everything fits. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to glue this gear block here in place. And once I glue it in place, we'll recheck and make sure everything's going to fit. Then we'll go and do the other wing up to this point, because we want to make sure all these legs are going in there at the same angle and everything. So I'm going to go ahead and glue this gear block in, and then we'll go get the other wing up to this point.